So I went with a different connection mechanism, and it worked this time. And the video quality seems okay. Like, you can tell what the step. Of course, it's a little bit unpredictable. But since it's a programming channel, it's going to have to. I mean, ideally, you'll be able to see what the letters are. But what is going on is I have a public domain platform, Lipopini, and on GitHub, and it's basically a showcase for media or an art gallery. It's like an art gallery, so you take your art and you put it on there, whether that be images, videos, sounds, or writings. It looks like this, and it's been kind of a journey putting it together, not just in the code but also in life. While putting it together has been insane, absolutely insane. But where I'm at with it now is I want to make a new front end. Like, this is a front end, and each front end has a module in theory. So like Lucan View is a front end module, and Sonasun is kind of the next one, the direction I want to take it in. And I'm tempted to like just start it over. Like, some of it's just, and this is mostly just something to do, something to fill the time, kind of like streaming itself. But while I'm looking for something to do, I thought maybe streaming could be something to do too, and document spending of this time. Seeing as how a lot of these cloud services have the capacity these days to let us do that. They have the technical and storage capacity to let us do that. So I thought maybe it would be a good idea. I don't know, but Lipopini itself, I think, is a great idea, and it exists, and it works quite well. And there's a lot of ideas on the table as for what direction it could take. There's a lot of ideas on the table as far as what direction it could take, and I have a few things that I've determined. It has an API, so if I put API example, it's going to show me the files this way, API style. But like right now, the demo doesn't actually use it. It puts this data here. Sonasun does use that API. There's a lot of data in here. The way that it dumps the data here is a bit different, and it uses a lot less output. It could technically be put together in the same way that this is. But I started to like the way that this API was turning out, and as far as like with all the relevant information for each file, you have that relevant information all available right there. So for each file, you have all the relevant information. So yeah. And also, of course, I'm trying to mess with streaming at the same time, which has been interesting, super interesting. And kind of like an outlet as someone who has been isolated for a long time. And just kind of going through a hard time, and whose life has spiraled out of control, beyond my control. At least that's the way that it felt to me. I'm sure that I could have changed something about the path, but I just kind of feel powerless over a lot of things. And, nobody's going to really... Anybody that's in a position to just take your money and basically, is not going to tell you what to do different, or like, they're just going to keep taking your money. And that's kind of what happened to me. Until I just lost everything. So that's that. Yeah. So yeah, life sucks for me. Hope it doesn't suck for you, whoever you are watching this. But part of the content here is you get to see somebody whose life sucks right now. And previously was even harder. Previously it really sucked, but still has lost everything, and technically it does suck right now. Life is terrible right now, and I'm in a bad place right now. So that's part of the content, I guess. I'm in a bad place that at this point other people might actually like. They're like, well, I wish I had it like that. Well, okay. For me, it's a dark place, and not so good. It's difficult. So yeah. But lipopenia has been coming along throughout this whole process, and it works well as it is, but there's an opportunity to keep working on it, and I want to keep working on it. I want to keep improving it. And I don't really know what my motivation is anymore beyond it working really well the way that it is. But it could be kind of fun. It could be fun to work on it, and it has been. It's been a joy this has been a joy to program. Working on lipopenia has been a joy itself. I think the code base has turned out good. It's a nice custom code base with very few dependencies. So we have two third-party dependencies, parse down and imagine, both really solid. And what I think I would like to do is keep on this, and keep doing it. One thing that's in mind is, so right now when you click on these, it goes to a new page, but since this API information is available, it gives us everything we need to know to be able to open this up in a pop-up. So there isn't another page load. Why not? That's certainly possible, and I think that's worth it. Maybe it's worth it. And then plus, going to be using some third-party libraries to improve the consistency cross-browser. Because right now, which it works very well, but right now we're just we're giving these files to the browser and letting the browser say, how do you want to render these files? And so sometimes it's a little different. Like if I look at this in Chrome, a Chrome-based browser, I assume this is the Blink engine, then we have a little bit different style for rendering. You see? So those are some of the things that could be solved. Or not solved, because they're not problems. It works well. But there's some of the things that could be changed about it, even though it works well. And some of these decisions, I think I've kind of made these decisions as far as what routes to go, and they'll be good routes. Because I spent some time on the decisions, in my own way of making decisions, which works out well with this kind of stuff. So, but yeah, and then at the same time, kind of exploring the streaming capabilities on YouTube and how all that works, which which also sits on in my mind to kind of learn about that. You know, wait a minute. I don't know, it looks like you can do a schedule. What the fuck? Oh my god, this was in the pandemic. Oh my god. Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, God, that pandemic, man. I haven't forgotten about it. I haven't really recovered from it. You know, when I started to think about it, I've said this before on a different stream, but I haven't really recovered from the pandemic myself. And I guess when I started streaming before, this is reminding me of that, because what I did before was I streamed to a few services at the same time, and the idea was I would play Sauerbraten and drink beer, and that would have been fun, I guess, because I like Sauerbraten and I like beer, but yeah, started to do that, and then various complications later. I don't know. That pandemic was tough as hell. And I still haven't even recovered from it, right? And I've been isolated. I think I can say I've been isolated, ever since, because I didn't do too well with the digital aspect of, as far as how entities were capitalizing on it. Some of that was reflected in a digital realm, and I didn't respond too well to that because of, I guess, I don't know. I don't know how to say it. Can you actually do this while you're streaming? How many minutes in is this thing? "13 minutes and 31 seconds, so I click this button. And yeah, you can always expect something cool or something interesting when you explore. Yeah, that's incredible. That is incredible. So I won't say too much about other stuff, because this is hard. I'm sure this is incredibly hard. But all these platforms are impressive. Obviously, Google is some kind of gold standard. So I wouldn't really expect that elsewhere. But that was impressive. Good God. Oh, and I can add markers. Oh, that's cool. So if I add a marker now. Oh, alright. Maybe not. Refresh. Add marker. Maybe I can only add one marker. What about this widget? Yeah. So it's not streaming too well. DVR, yes, no, I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just trying to find a way to spend time while I am basically wasting away. And my life is just going upside down. And I think it is now just upside down. And I'm just kind of like, what the hell, life? Okay. And I don't know what to do. So Lipopini has been kind of like, I love coding, and this is one way, and that's one way to spend time, and it's something that I would normally be doing anyway. And so Lipopini is kind of how I figured I'd be doing that. But I don't know. I just wanted to kind of tinker with this after with this YouTube streaming, even though I know that all these platforms have, you know, their challenges, and you know, none of it's right. From a technical perspective, like I say, like Google would be the gold standard, so they can do anything. They're a media company. And so they've got the compression. They make the compression stuff, the protocols, the backbone. They're in the backbone, the front, the back, and all that stuff. So from a technical perspective, actually they're both awesome, and they both use RTMP. So I don't know. But yeah, they're also distribution channels with agendas and opinions, and obviously self-interests. But yeah, there's a lot of conversation about the self-interest of these platforms. So I don't know. So none of it's going to be ideal. And while none of it's ideal, kind of want to do something, and ultimately I guess it's a kind of a documentation effort. It's gotten a lot more boring since I've been in this form of hell, whereas the previous forms of hell recently, in the past few months, I think have been more entertaining, and this one is just kind of boring. So content wise, it's kind of boring. So yeah, so it's boring content now. So that's no good, I guess, right? But it is, like, or not good, but isn't it better when things are boring? Yeah. No, I don't know. But as far as making content, like, that's not ultimately what I want to do with my life, right? But that's what I just kind of want to document. I'm just documenting what's going on now, and documenting the development of Lipopini to give it some sort of general theme. I call it ActivityPub Research because that was kind of how it started. I found that in the PHP realm, while solutions do exist, they're probably not as approachable as they could be, and I am hoping that Lipopini can sort of fill a gap there. You know, to get this up and running, you follow these steps and you should get there, as long as you kind of, you know, have the dependencies and stuff. So there is a gotcha on that, but, you know, so yeah. But for the most part, I think that it's straightforward to get up and running. As for the code base itself, everything has a learning curve, right? You know, it's just, is it worth it to you? I can't answer that. But I have to say I'm happy with the code base. I think that I'm happy with the code base. So it's modular. based on a request queue. And I guess where it's like really request modules, and that's kind of like the entry point as far as from a web perspective. So you go to system config, and you have it maintains the state. I thought that kind of turned out neat. So it maintains the state throughout the request lifecycle, and you have these requests, and this is the queue, or this is the module system that I'm kind of referring to when I say modules. It's like basically request modules, right? So here's like the home page request, and a document request will call on that your front-end module. So this is like the controller for the documents and folders, where this is a folder and this is a document. That's how it's set up at the moment. And I think it's okay. It's like pretty good. And then you have these media processor requests, right? Now this is the part where right now if you get it up and running and you request this page, it processes this thumbnail when you request the page and caches it. You don't have to do it that way with Libapini. You can run this process media file, and what it will do is it uses the same classes, but you could do it that way and actually delete those request modules. So if I go to the system state, you could actually delete these, right? And just use this CLI tool. You can use a file watcher, but one of the basic ideas is the collection itself. The way that files are added to the collection is directly on the file system. So that's another thing about this, and then that's one of the core goals is I should be able to click on a collection. I go to the example collection, I drag a file in here, and it is then in that collection, and that way all authentication is handled via the method that you use to transfer those files. There's no upload form or anything like that. So as it says here, you can use all of these various ways to add files to your collection, right? It's not without certain caveats, like with anything, but for the most part it works very well. I've had this code base on a production server, public facing production server, since version 1, and I feel that it's done very well. On a DreamHost shared hosting account, it's on a shared hosting account since version 1, and has done very well, all things considered, even through some time when I wasn't able to put the focus on it that would be nice to put on something like this. But it was still up and running and kind of chugging along. But a lot of the loose ends are tightened up now. It's on version 4, and it's really coming along. It does audio, video, images, and then here you have a demonstration of how the text works. This is lyrics to a song, a great song that I learned about recently, and I put it on here as both a demonstration and also to say, hey, there's a great artist. So yeah. and it supports subfolders, which I mean that's kind of cool. So in your collection folder, so where it stores your metadata and caching is in the Lipopini folder, a hidden folder, but it supports subfolders for your collection too. So like that file there, this file is right here, and so if you do go ahead and connect, you could even edit the stuff directly on a remote server if you want. So you can edit the thumbnails, you know, and it's all contained in those collection folders. I am happy with a lot of the core concepts and the core foundation of it. And while I think my steam is running out a little bit, maybe something that's time to step away from it for a while. Maybe I do have some desire to integrate a third-party, media player to introduce more consistency between browsers and just a little bit more flexibility in how that can happen. And also with the way that the audio works. So it's really coming along, though. I mean, honestly, it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good the way that it is, and it leaves a lot of room for DevOps creativity. So you could do caching in a different way, you know. You could put it behind Cloudflare, and let Cloudflare further handle the optimization of this media, if you wanted. It has a Docker option, but nothing is set in stone. But there is a Docker option that is not set in stone. You can do whatever, change that around however you like. The source code is public domain, so which I don't normally do public domain stuff or open source stuff. So it's one of the first times that I'll contribute to other open source projects. But I typically, if I want to do a project, I typically won't make it public domain. But this is. So I've had to think in terms of that. So it's just more to, additional layers of consideration. So I guess that's been a nice exercise. I've had to think towards teamwork, and collaboration, which I don't have to do with this, at least not at this time, because there hasn't been a whole lot of collaboration thus far as the PHP code is concerned. There's not really pull requests, but as far as putting it out there and documenting it, I have tried to consider that. So there's a lot of documentation, and actually, oh my God, now that I'm looking at this should actually be called README, so that when you go to that page, it shows immediately. So yeah, this is the deployment instructions, and it shows you, I actually installed 8 different Linux distributions in one night and put Lipopini on all those Linux distributions, which was quite masochistic and insane, but did happen. And here it is running on Android. But the result was that I was able to document the instructions for each distribution. That was the result and the goal, to document the instructions, and that is what happened. So happy about that part. I really want to get this API stuff, I really want to put a focus on this API stuff. Using this information, there's a lot that can be done. on the front end. I figured that if you know the total and you know how many there are per page, then you can determine the maximum number of pages, and you might already know what page number you've just requested. So you can determine if there's going to be another page or not. Yeah, I'm kind of tired right now, and I've been yeah, getting tired. Yeah, not super happy. I'm like very unhappy in general, and that does make it a bit more challenging. I mean, it has been super challenging, so I guess somehow my motivation to do this has outweighed my unsatisfaction with life in general and how unhappy I am in general. But as far as where this is right now, I think that is rather satisfying. And I think that I could make a new front end without getting in the way of even where it is now very much at all. There could be a new front end without changing it around too much, just adding something else, adding a new offering to what's already there. So it would be a new module. Like if you go to the modules folder, it gives you some documentation and ideas. So Luke and Boo's like general front end, visual artists, photographers, writers. And then you can do about anything with Luke and View already with some creativity. But it gives some other ideas. Like and you can connect to the Fediverse for if there's a Fediverse client that is configured properly, you can connect it to the Fediverse, which is pretty neat. But yeah.